project truck, 1965 Ford F-100. No motor, no tranny, old suspension, old farm truck. We are going to take and do a Crown Vic swap on it to get the front end done. And you'll see online there's quite a few people actually take this truck and put it on a Crown Vic frame. I'm not a big fan of that because it wastes a lot of the bed space, the way you have to modify the bed to keep the Crown Vic gas tank. So, and you have to cut some of the body panels a little bit. I kind of want to keep it mostly stock for the most part. Well, I shouldn't say stock because it's going to be retro mod, but I am going to beef up, box the frame, put the Crown Vic independent front suspension on the front, keep the engine, keep the tranny of the Crown Vic. So it's basically all the Crown Vic running gear put on this F-100 frame. It'll sit probably 4 to 6 inches lower than this, and it'll handle pretty much like a modern car. In fact, it'll handle like a Crown Vic Police Interceptor. Go for it. 2004 P71 Crown Victoria donor vehicle. It's got low miles, a little over 113,000 miles. That's kind of low for a police car. And the 4.6 liter V8 is a very reliable motor. They say it'll go to 300,000 miles. This one, the body was in really poor shape, which was fine because we got a better price on it. Mechanically, everything runs. We registered it, smogged it, and painted it to look like the Bluesmobile from the 1984 Blues Brothers movie. It just could be fun driving it around for a while. So we drove it almost a year, probably put 1,000 miles on it, just to confirm it was going to be a reliable donor vehicle for the F-100. Last thing we want to do is do all the work and find out we had either engine problems or tranny problems. But this one worked absolutely fantastic. It was fun to drive. It was completely intact, actually, for the most part. It had the rear, hose out seat and everything. So this is the donor vehicle. We're going to strip out the front independent suspension, which is all one aluminum subsection that houses the engine mounts, rack and pinion steering, coil spring, shocks. Everything is all basically removable from the unit, and it takes 4 bolts to bolt it into another vehicle. So it's a great donor suspension. We're going to use the motor and the suspension and the transmission and the rear end all in the all in the F-100 project. So should be good. Crown Vic tear down starts. Got the front bumper off. Got the hood unbolted. Ready to take the doors off. Pretty easy. I want to basically take all the wiring label as I'm taking off. So when I take the door off, because I'm going to have to sort out the whole wiring harness. And a lot of progress. Tearing the Crown Vic completely apart. And fenders, everything's off. Going through, labeling every connector is very, very important, because months from now, when you're sorting out the wiring harnesses, you'll be thanking yourself for putting labels on everything you unplug. Completely removed all the interior cabling, the entire dash, every piece that I may or may not need later. I basically just removed absolutely every bit of the wiring, from the gas tank, sending unit, everything all the way back. So I have every bit of the harness. So when I start sorting this out, comes wiring time, I can pretty much easily strip down the wiring harness down to only what I need. It's probably a lot more work, but it's better to have more and then reduce the wiring later than to cut stuff out that you find out you need later. So again, very, very critical. Label everything. I mean, came off fan motor,
label it all. That way when you're sorting it out, you can pretty much eliminate things really fast. So far, that's what a Police Interceptor looks like, pretty much stripped down to the bare bones. More progress. Was able to get the AC unit disconnected without having to discharge it. I'm hoping to keep everything actually intact, and only discharge it when I'm ready to hook up the vintage air on the truck I'm putting it in. But that way everything will be kept clean and sanitary and all that stuff. So all the wiring is out. All of it's ripped out of there. Disconnected everything that connects the body and frame to the engine. All I left the engine harness on the engine itself. Make it a little bit easier later. And that is basically most of the wiring. At least this is the part of the wiring that was in the engine compartment and going through the firewall. All the wiring that was on the harness on the inside of the car is another pile I've already kind of put away. So I'm going to put this away. Notice all the white taped areas. That is everything labeled. So that months from now, or maybe even a year from now, I'm going to start sorting out the wiring. More progress. Sorry I've not shown you me taking it apart, but one bolt at a time. Disconnecting all of anything that connects, any of the wiring that connects anything to the body. I've removed the brake booster, pedals, acceleration cable, everything. I've taken the transmission cross member out, the drive line out. So the only thing keeping everything together is the frame. And my plan is I'm going to cut the frame straight on down on each side and pull it out as one piece. Reason is I want to keep it all together because in the F-100 I'm hoping to utilize some of the same mounts, and I'm either going to blend the front of this frame to the F-100, or when I fabricate some stuff for the front of the F-100 I'll be able to match this Crown Vic, so I can use all Crown Vic parts in the future, hoses and all that stuff. So that's it. Fuel line, everything's disconnected. Same thing, I'm going to cut it right on down there and should be good to go. Well, the sawzalling's done. Got it separated. Transmissions supported. Putting tires back on so that I can hopefully separate this thing from the completely from the car. And I've already pulled it away a little bit just using the jack stands just to make sure it was separated. But yeah, about ready to do it. Alright, let's see how this works. Put it on its own weight. Interesting. Front drops down a little more than I thought. That's okay. See what happens. Got one last hose, it looks like. These are just the vacuum lines. Got that. Oh, I see a ground right there. This is the stuff you find because you can't see everything. Let me get. Oops. There we go. See if that's a little better now. Check that out. Tire, drivetrain, ready to go.